There we go. So in today's session, we will be looking at explicit and implicit information. If at any point you have any questions, feel free to either write them in the little chat function or ask them out loud. If you're thinking about a question, the chances are that somebody else may be as well. So what we're going to be looking at, we're going to be looking at the difference between these two types of information and what the words implicit and explicit actually mean and how that relates to your reading exams. So, as always, we will start with our definitions. I'm going to tell you exactly what these words mean in relation to English language. So, definitions. If something is explicit, it is information that you are told, and there's no room for any misinterpretation or misunderstanding. It is just clear, straightforward information. Explicit to me means obvious. If something is implicit, it's going to be the opposite of that. So rather than it being obvious, it's something that is maybe shown in clues, or it may be a slightly more hidden way of expressing information. Now, I tried to make as many examples as possible when explaining this so that you can have a think and have a look through these. And as I said, it's going on the YouTube channel, so you can pause it, you can read it, you can look at it slowly and have a go at some of these examples in your own time. So, explicit, clearly stated facts, no room for misinterpretation. Implicit may have a suggested meaning, so it's slightly less clear and it's more about how you interpret that information. So it may have more than one meaning. You may need to look at clues to understand the overall message. And the meaning is sometimes suggested or hinted at, not explicit, not obvious. So if I give you two examples here of, the first one is an explicit statement. So what I said about it being clear and being obvious. If I said she was angry, we know it's a person, it's in the past, and we know how they felt. She was angry. There is nothing to misunderstand about that statement. If, however, I said she slammed the door and didn't say a word, we can understand that this person may be angry, but it doesn't actually say that. So what we're doing is we're looking at the words that are used. She slammed the door. We rarely do that if we are feeling happy and relaxed and carefree. If we are slamming the door, usually a relatively violent act, it would to me represent anger. So she slammed the door and didn't say a word. So I can visualize this person's actions as slamming the door and not speaking. And look, it's angry to me. So we've got lots and lots of examples of these to have a look through. Now, there's no right or wrong answer, because your interpretation of like somebody's body language may be different to how other people interpret it. But generally speaking, this isn't person specific, generally speaking, we should come up with similar ideas. For example, this one says, Jake crossed his arms and stared out of the window while others laughed. Okay, so the kind of things we need to think about. So how is he acting differently from the other people mentioned in the text? Everybody else is laughing. He's sitting like this. What might his body language suggest? So, possible explanations that we came up with. He could feel left out, so he's not included in what everybody else is doing. He's annoyed or upset. Again, think about that. That body language is very defensive. It's putting a barrier between you and other people. And you could also potentially infer that he doesn't want to be there. He's not experiencing any pleasure. He's not laughing along. So that statement, Jake crossed his arms and stared out of the window while the others laughed, is implicitly telling us that perhaps he feels left out, he's annoyed, upset, doesn't want to be there. And any of those answers would be entirely fine. Now I said I've got lots of examples. The second one, when the teacher asked for volunteers, Maya suddenly found her shoelace. Very interesting. I know this feeling all too well from both sides, from the teaching side and from a student side. The teacher asks for an answer to a question, and everybody does this. She says she finds her shoelaces interesting. In reality, her shoelaces aren't interesting. She's avoiding the eye contact from the tutor. She doesn't want to answer the question. She may be unsure. She may be nervous. She may be avoiding attention. Again, any of these, we think about the body language. So I know as a teacher, when I'm in front of a room of students, if I ask a question and I say, who knows the answer? Everybody does this. We don't tend to do that very much in teaching anymore. What we try to do is ensure that students, everybody has a chance to answer a question rather than choosing individual people. Because if we're not confident speakers, we may know the answer, but may not feel comfortable speaking. I understand that. I also know from a student's perspective, if a teacher asks a question and I don't know the answer, I avoid. I do everything I can to avoid the teacher's eyes. Just make yourself as small as possible to hide yourself away. So that one statement, again, it's very implicit. It is trying to give you the idea that she doesn't want to volunteer, she's nervous, unsure, avoiding attention, but it doesn't actually say those words. It doesn't say Maya is nervous, Maya is avoiding attention. So it's how we're interpreting it. Next example. Ella read the message, typed a reply, deleted it, and slipped her phone into her pocket. So again, what does it make us think? So why might somebody delete a message instead of sending it? And as part of that, what emotions could be involved? So she could be conflicted. She may not know whether or not she wants to send that message. She might not be entirely sure of what to say or how to say it. And then the last one, she could be just avoiding the conversation. So maybe somebody has sent something to her, she wants to reply, maybe she's replying out of anger or instinct, and then she's like, no, calm before you reply. So it could be a combination of any of those suggestions of the reasons behind her behaviour. Have a look at this one. I like this one because it's quite short and quite concise, but I think I can interpret the most about this person's mood or behaviour. Says, fine, he says, as he was tapping his fingers against his desk, not against his chin. You can't see my desk. Fine, he said, tapping his fingers rapidly on the desk. Could be like this, could be. Okay, so does the action, tapping his fingers against the desk, match the word fine? Fine means okay. A lot of it, I think, depends on the tone of voice and the body language. So if somebody is sitting there and goes, fine, then I don't think it is fine. He could be, as it says here, irritated. He could be impatient. And the key one, his words are saying one thing, but his body is saying the opposite. So he's not actually fine at all. Okay. Said I've got loads of these. I think I've got a couple more, but like I say, the more examples we get, the more sort of fresh examples we go through as well, the better the chances are that the idea of explicit and implicit information may come to you. It's because in the reading exams, they will often say, what is this person's view? And you have to read a piece and work out, are they being positive? Are they being negative? Are they angry? Are they happy? Are they looking at things balanced? So it's being able to see these little clues, like if it explains somebody's body language, if it explains anything about their tone of voice or their actions. Let's have a look at the next one. The house was spotless when her parents came home. She stayed in her room. Okay. This one makes me think a little more. This one makes me think, has she cleaned everything as instructed by her parents and then run out of the way? Why is she trying to avoid them? Why? So why clean so carefully? And why avoid her parents afterwards? So, potential meanings. Could be trying to avoid trouble. Okay. She may be feeling guilty or anxious. Of course. So potentially she's broken something, so she's cleaned everything else. You know, she's done something bad, so she's trying to clean to get in her parents' good graces before they see what she's done wrong. Something has happened that isn't stated. So I think to get a clearer meaning of this, we would need to know more information. So a lot of it is kind of working out what's not been said as well. So this one, I think there's a variety of different ways that we could understand it, but we'd need more information to be 100% sure. The last example. You remembered, she said quietly, turning the key in the door. Okay, you remembered, she said quietly, turning the key in the door. Okay, so where's the word quietly important? What emotions could be hiding behind that line? She only says you remembered. To me, that sounds that she's surprised that the other person remembered. Maybe she's, yeah, I think surprised, but pleasantly so. Again, here, some suggestions could be relief. Oh, you remembered. Past disappointment. So perhaps this person has forgot on previous occasions, and she's just very happy that they have remembered this time. Again, without further information, it's hard for us to be entirely sure. However, we can just make a decision based on what information we do have. So, how do we infer meaning? To infer something means to come to a decision based on based on what information we've taken from the text. What has been the most important or the key parts from what we've read? So we look at clues such as any body language that may be mentioned by the person in the text. We could look at context clues and the words that are used. And again, if we think about any kind of body language or anything else that is mentioned in the text, that should give us a very good idea as well. So, this is the next thing that I want to be looking at. So, implicit and explicit information. That's a sort of general overview. It seems explicit information, I've not given you half as many examples of that, because explicit information is essentially just a simple, true sentence. And there is no room for anything to be interpreted. All of these examples are the harder ones, the more difficult. I think it depends a lot on us as people as to how we interpret what we read as well. Like I said, arms crossed, it's quite defensive in my eyes, but then sometimes it's just comfortable and body language is less important. However, if we think about how we use body language in situations such as job interviews, you're encouraged to keep your arms open, you make eye contact with the person that you're speaking to. I would always encourage smile and pleasant conversation, because if you're going to be working with these people, it's good things to show them, you know, your professional abilities, skills and qualities, but also to express what kind of person you are as well. So body language, how it's expressed, not just physically, but in writing, makes a big difference. And we need to be thinking about, what do these statements tell us about the situation, about the person, and about their emotions? So that's it for looking at implicit and explicit information. If we have any questions, please feel free to stick them into the chat at any point.